China notably leading most of our bulletins today. Those tensions continuing to deteriorate. In a business sense, it's all bad news for the wine industry and all of the businesses associated with that.
Yeah, Peter, that's right. And I think, look, the wine industry is the most recent victim of this. But remember, there's another 9 commodities: barley, cotton, coal, plenty of others besides lobsters, of course. This is an ongoing issue that we really have to try and resolve. Frankly, in the national interest, I mean, I own shares in Treasury wines. Let's put the cards on the table. But realistically, I'll probably buy some more at a cheaper price. So I'm not too worried about the share price fall. What I'm far more worried about is those individual businesses and the national economy. If you think about the number of winemakers, it's not just Treasury, the number of winemakers and associated industries, as you rightly say, and then expand that out to the number of different commodities. China is responsible for something like a third of our export sales. If we don't get this resolved, this is a real issue for the national economy, and it really should be the number 1, 2, and 3 priority of the Morrison government. Unfortunately, they've got to find a way to get through to China and get this de-escalated.
Yeah, I mean, but they're trying to find a way. The problem is that China's not picking up the phone. You know, they've got these provocative tweets. I mean, it's all on at the moment. Meanwhile, you've got these businesses that are caught up in the middle of it. And I guess this shows when a business is so reliant on one market, being China, this exposes the pitfalls of that. So, I mean, moving forward, Scott, I mean, I guess it stands to reason that various businesses are just going to have to keep working on different markets at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's right. Look, I mean, business always wanted to, right? I think this is the challenge with the trade in China is when the money's there, you don't want to knock it back. You know, for the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years, plenty of companies make a fortune. Think about iron ore, for example. If we'd said, look, we want to restrict our iron ore sales to China, only 10% of our national iron ore sales or something else, it would have been a really, really tough industry to try and continue. So, I mean, you're right in your sentiment, and it absolutely is what they should be trying to do. I think probably most business owners will be, looking at the screen and saying, hang on, guys, we're already doing our best here. We're making sales wherever we possibly can. I do wonder whether the government has a role to play in terms of trade policy, industry policy, to help Australian businesses diversify further that base. And I think that's probably, in hindsight, and hindsight's always 2020, I think that's probably a little bit of a, shoulda, coulda, woulda done 12, 18 months ago. So now, as you say, the real pressure is on to say, right, what else do we do? Treasury going to divert some of their high-priced wines back to Australia, to other parts of Americas and Europe. Hopefully that helps them to some degree, but you simply can't replace the Chinese demand. There's just not enough market everywhere else.
That's right.
That's already not saturated by other players.
That's right. Yeah, I'm a bit worried for you with those Treasury shares. I reckon they might still have a way. They might still have a way to fall, given that China accounted for so much of their business.
Yeah, it did about a third of the profits. And I think, look, for me, this it's a long-term investment. I won't get into my own concerns. I'm not too worried about me. I'll be fine.
No, generally, because there's a lot of people who obviously own those shares.
Yeah. So look, my take is, if you're an investor, you're a long-term investor. If we look at 5 and 10 years, I see a remarkably low probability we don't get this stuff resolved. Now, the shares of Treasury are less than half of what they were 12, 18 months ago. China's a third of their profits. So you kind of do the maths and say, hang on, it feels a bit overdone. And also, it's not going to be a permanent thing, or at least we hope it's not going to be permanent. If it is, that's going to hurt permanently. If we get this resolved at some point, somehow, and wines go back into China, then, of course, profits improve again. So if you're a long-term investor, I see nothing to fear from this one. I'm far more concerned about the winemakers, the associated industries, who don't have the ability to withstand a 5 or 6 year recovery period, right? They've got jobs, they've got bills to pay.
Smaller producers.
And the flow through the broader economy as well. And again, not just in wine, but in coal, cotton, barley, and plenty of others. And I dare say, Pete, my biggest concern is I don't think China's finished. I think there's more to come here, and that doesn't give me any joy to say. But realistically, iron ore is down the end of a very long road. But if we get there, they have the potential to really significantly hurt us, and that really is going to cause some serious economic issues for us.
I've got to agree with you there, the way things are going at the moment. You don't know Madonna shares by any chance, do you, Scott? They're doing quite well at the moment, up 16%, I think, in 2 days.
It's all right, isn't it? And that's off the back of just a remarkable run. Look, this is fantastic news, Pete. You mentioned already earlier in the bulletin the fact that the FDA is being asked to approve this and Pfizer's drugs are just really, really great news for everybody. I think there's still some logistical challenges about how the drugs are distributed, because of the absolutely ultra low temperatures they need to be stored and transported at. But this is just spectacular news, earlier than anyone would have thought. And I think if we started with a bit of negativity with China, and justified, but the positivity. Look, I mean, the US market's at record highs. We've got the economy here in Australia absolutely roaring back. Now, it's still miles away from where we need to be, but I saw yesterday from CommBank, home loan deferrals are down by about 2/3 from their peak. We saw JobKeeper come off, and 500,000 businesses come off that. So, realistically, there's plenty of stuff to be concerned about. There always is. I don't want to lose sight of, as you say, the Moderna stuff is fantastic news and just really positive economic signs right across the economy. So it's hard not to finish 2020, China aside, without being optimistic.